If you want to rise, you must first be seasoned, and if your steps feel heavy, perhaps it's because they're being prepared to carry something greater. Put salt in your shoes, and let your journey be flavored with purpose. Salt in ancient times was not just a seasoning, it was currency. It was sacred. It preserved food, healed wounds, and symbolized value. In some cultures, it was offered as tribute. In others, it sealed sacred covenants. So when we speak of putting salt in your shoes, we speak of walking with the full awareness of your worth, of refusing to take another step in this life as if you are disposable, replaceable, or undeserving of honor. Salt does not apologize for its presence. It does not blend in. It brings flavor, strength, and substance. And so must you. You have been shrinking in rooms you were meant to speak in. You have been whispering dreams that were born to be declared. You have been watering yourself down to make others comfortable, walking lightly so your presence doesn't disturb their silence. But let me tell you, anything that fears your fullness was never meant to hold your destiny. Salt cannot be hidden for long. It rises, it flavors, it changes the entire composition of what it touches, and so do you. When you play small, you insult the hands that molded you. You dishonor the prayers that carried your name before you even knew how to say it. You silence the power that was placed in your spirit, not to blend, but to stand. You were never meant to walk like a shadow in your own story. You were made to rise, not in arrogance, but in anchored knowing, to season every space you enter with truth, with strength, with grace. Stop bargaining with your light. Stop negotiating your voice. You do not have to dull your shine to be seen as humble. You do not have to collapse yourself to be worthy of love. Your salt is sacred. It is the divine reminder that you carry weight, value, and presence. And that presence is needed in this world. Your softness does not require you to be silent. Your strength does not demand you be hard, but your worth requires you to be unwavering. There is a difference between humility and invisibility. One honors the soul, the other hides it. You were not born to be hidden. You were born to be whole, to be holy, to be heard. And salt, child, has never begged to be noticed. It simply enters, and everything around it is changed. You do not need to explain your worth. You need only embody it. Let the world adjust to your presence. Let the space you occupy be seasoned by your truth. Let every step you take declare, I will no longer walk like I am ordinary when I was formed to be extraordinary. I will no longer apologize for the salt in my soul, the flavor in my walk, the value in my name. Dreams are beautiful things. They come dressed in gold, dipped in desire, soaked in the sweetness of what could be. They make your heart beat faster, your imagination run wild. They pull you out of darkness and whisper, there is more for you. But dreams without discipline are like seeds cast into the wind, full of potential, yet unanchored. They drift, they wander, they vanish in the very air that carried them. Discipline, beloved, is the soil. It is what roots those dreams in reality, gives them a place to grow, and surrounds them with the structure they need to stretch toward the light. You can dream of becoming, but if your habits don't match your vision, you're rehearsing disappointment. You can write a vision board with the stars, but if your feet don't move daily in the direction of those stars, you are worshiping potential and calling it progress. Dreams without discipline become burdens. They haunt you with what might have been had you dared to wake up early, stay consistent, and walk the path when it was lonely and unseen. The world does not give its treasures to those who merely wish. It gives them to those who show up in sweat and silence. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a devotion. It is your private love letter to the dream that lives inside you. It is the act of showing up when no one claps. It is making your bed in the morning because you've declared your life is worth order. It's choosing water over ease, silence over distraction, long roads over shortcuts. It's understanding that greatness doesn't arrive on your doorstep. It is built brick by brick in the dark, in the mundane, in the hours when nobody is watching. The world sees the glory, but discipline knows the grind. To ground your dreams in discipline is to make your faith practical. It's to say, I believe in this vision so deeply that I'm willing to become the version of myself required to carry it. It is to align your actions with your anointing, to respect your dream enough to structure your life around it. It is to create boundaries where distractions used to live. It is to honor time like it's sacred because it is. It's understanding that every hour has a cost, and your dream cannot afford for you to spend it carelessly. Discipline is not loud, it is not glamorous, but it is holy. It's what separates the dreamer from the doer. It's what turns someday into now. And if you want your life to change, if you truly want to rise, you must first be willing to submit your feelings to your future. You must be willing to move even when the mood is absent. You must practice your purpose until it becomes your posture. You must treat your goal like a sacred calling and your daily actions like prayer, because that is what they are, an offering, a covenant between who you are and who you are becoming. And no matter how long it takes, if you stay grounded in that discipline, your dream will rise through the dirt, push through the doubt, and bloom in a way that no one can deny. There is a difference between walking and wandering. One knows where it's going, even if the road is long, the signs unclear, or the sky dim. The other just moves, hoping to land somewhere worth staying. If you want your journey to mean something, if you want each step to carry weight, then it must be seasoned, with purpose and with prayer. Because a step without purpose is just motion, and motion without direction will exhaust you before it ever fulfills you. You were not created to drift. You were formed to walk boldly, intentionally, with something sacred burning beneath your souls. Purpose is not always loud. It does not always come with applause or clarity. Sometimes purpose is quiet. It's a knowing, a pull in your spirit that says, this is where I belong. It's the choice to keep moving forward even when comfort calls you backward. It's the ability to say no to what looks good so you can say yes to what is good for you. And to find that kind of clarity, you must season your steps with prayer. Not the kind that only begs for blessings, but the kind that listens, that surrenders, that aligns your pace with the divine rhythm set aside just for you. When your steps are guided by purpose and covered in prayer, you begin to walk differently. You stop chasing validation. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You stop rushing. You become less anxious about the how and more faithful about the why. Because you understand that every delay may be a detour in your favor. You understand that what you don't see, God is already arranging. You walk not because the path is perfect, but because your feet were made to move and your faith was made to trust. Prayer is not a pause, it's power. It is the breath beneath your battle, the strength beneath your silence, the calm beneath your chaos. It reminds you that you are not alone in your walking, that even when the road feels barren, your steps are seen, counted, guided. Purpose whispers the direction. Prayer affirms the journey. And together they shape a life that is not only moving, but meaningful. So before you take that next step, ask yourself, is this movement or mission? Is this noise or necessity? Am I chasing survival or walking in surrender? Because it is not enough to move just to say you did. You must move with intention. You must walk like your life depends on it. because it does. You must place each foot down as though you are planting something sacred. You must fill the space between now and next with devotion, with awareness, with a quiet kind of certainty that cannot be shaken by delay, rejection, or doubt. And when others ask how you keep your composure, how you find your way when theirs is lost, let your walk answer. Let the peace in your stride speak. Let the steadiness in your journey reflect the strength of someone who never walked alone. Someone who didn't just move, but moved with reverence. Someone who seasoned every step with purpose and wrapped every mile in prayer. Endurance is not grown in the glow of attention. It is not shaped in the ease of applause or the warmth of validation. Endurance is formed in the quiet, in the heavy, in the unseen. It is crafted deep beneath the surface where the world cannot watch and cannot rush it. It is what grows in you when you're tired but still choose to rise. When the door closes and you wait with dignity. When no one calls your name, but you prepare anyway. Endurance is not a gift, it is earned. Not through speed or shine, but through sacred persistence when everything in you aches to stop. You cannot fake endurance. You cannot dress it up in charm or rehearse it into performance. It reveals itself only when tested, when the winds of life howl, when the ground shakes, when what you thought would carry you suddenly gives way. And in that moment, you find out what was planted deep within. Endurance is not what you show others. It's what holds you together when everything else falls apart. It is forged through waiting, through weeping, through walking when walking hurts. There are roots growing beneath you that no one sees. Roots that twist and deepen every time you refuse to give up. Roots that stretch through rejection, through silence, through seasons of lack. They hold firm not because the weather is kind, but because they've been trained by the storm. Endurance whispers, keep going, not with the roar of the fearless, but with the breath of the faithful. It does not rush. It remains. It does not ask for ease. It prepares for resistance. It does not collapse at the sight of struggle. It recognizes it as the gymnasium of growth. You see, the surface is for show, but the soul is where the work is done, and that work is sacred. The world may see your success and call it sudden, but you will know the truth, that you were being stretched in silence, that you were being strengthened in sorrow, that beneath every smile you wore, there was a battle you refused to lose. Endurance teaches you to carry weight without complaint, to bend without breaking, to trust that pressure is not punishment, it is preparation. The ones who endure are not always the ones who started the fastest, but the ones who chose to keep showing up, day after day, step after step, tear after tear. They understood that consistency is a covenant, that every moment spent beneath the surface is not wasted but invested. They understood that the world may only crown the victory, but heaven watches the process. And it is the process that makes you holy, the struggle that makes you solid, the waiting that makes you wise. So dig deeper, settle into the soil of your soul and stay. Don't rush to be seen. Don't panic when the fruit has yet to bloom. Stay planted, stay faithful. Let the winds blow, let the rains fall, let the silence stretch, because beneath it all, something unshakable is forming, something rooted, something real, something that no applause can build and no failure can destroy. That is endurance, and it is yours to grow. Greatness without sacrifice is a meal without seasoning, present, perhaps even impressive, but lacking the depth, the soul, the richness that lingers and nourishes beyond the first bite. It is sacrifice that stirs the pot of your becoming, that adds weight to your words and meaning to your milestones. Without sacrifice, the victory is hollow, the glory fades fast, and the applause rings empty. But when you've given something up, when you've laid down comfort, let go of ease, turned away from distraction to honor something higher, then what you build tastes different. It has been touched by fire, marinated in struggle, and aged in silent devotion. Sacrifice is the seasoning of the soul. It turns potential into power. It takes what is ordinary and makes it unforgettable. The one who sacrifices walks a road others refuse, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they understand the price. They know that to stand on the mountain, they must first be willing to climb in the dark. They know that something must be exchanged: sleep, popularity, convenience, ego, in order to hold something that endures. Sacrifice does not take from you, it invests in you. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, focus over frenzy, purpose over pleasure, you are flavoring your greatness with authenticity, with honor, with depth. You cannot microwave excellence. You cannot skip steps and expect strength. You must simmer in the quiet hours, season your work with repetition, flavor your commitment with the kind of faith that shows up before results ever arrive. Sacrifice is the ingredient most leave out because it doesn't taste good at first. It is bitter before it becomes bold. It is hard before it becomes holy. But once it's in the pot, once you've stirred it through the soul of your journey, you'll notice how nothing tastes the same without it. And the beauty of sacrifice is that it transforms the one who offers it. Not just in the outcome, but in the essence. It deepens your character, sharpens your focus, softens your ego, and strengthens your will. You begin to walk differently, not with arrogance, but with a reverence for what you've paid. Because you'll know how many nights you sat in silence, how many days you pushed past the pain, how many moments you traded temporary joy for lasting peace. That flavor cannot be faked. It cannot be borrowed. It must be lived. True greatness is not just what you achieve. It is what you are willing to release along the way. It is the ability to say, I will not eat from every table if it means forgetting who I am. It is the resolve to hold fast to your principles even when shortcuts scream your name. It is seasoning your name with patience, your legacy with integrity, your future with humility. And only those who have cooked their lives in the fire of sacrifice can serve the kind of greatness that nourishes others, that leaves behind a fragrance that feeds generations with more than just stories. It feeds them with substance. There is something about a person who's walked through the storm and still carries sunlight in their soul. Something about the one who's been bent but not broken, who's been tried in the fire but did not melt. Struggle, when embraced with dignity, becomes the seasoning that gives your story its flavor, its rhythm, its weight. It is not the absence of ease that disfigures you. It is the way you hold yourself in the thick of it that defines the essence of your becoming. Let your struggle not be a stain, but a spice. Let it infuse your voice with truth, your path with power, your presence with something so rare, so resilient that it cannot be copied or contained. Struggle pulls the masks away. It strips the artificial and calls forth the authentic. It doesn't care about performance. It exposes potential. What others might call a setback, struggle recognizes as a setting where strength is sculpted, where perseverance is poured, where identity is chiseled down to the core. In a world that loves the shine but fears the strain, let your struggle be the sacred seasoning that marks you as real. Let it speak before you do. Let it walk in the room before your name is called. Because when people encounter someone who has survived what should have shattered them, they pay attention. Not because you didn't fall, but because you rose and kept rising. Because you endured what others whispered about. Because you wore your wounds not as weapons, but as witness. Struggle has a way of shaping you in silence, of feeding your faith behind the curtain, of building your backbone when all you've got left is breath. It teaches you to speak with depth, to lead with empathy, to hold space for the broken because you remember your own breaking. It's the grind that grounds you, the weight that humbles you, the pain that polishes you until even your scars start to shine with meaning. There is nothing bland about a life that's been tested and found still standing. Nothing plain about someone who's fought through tears, crawled through rejection, prayed through delay, and still rises each morning with hope stitched into their spirit. Struggle seasons your soul. It doesn't take away your power, it refines it. It makes your steps deliberate, it makes your eyes wiser, it sharpens your discernment and deepens your compassion. While others perform strength, yours becomes second nature, lived in, breathed out, undeniable. You don't need to be untouched to be powerful. You need to be honest. You need to own what you've walked through and wear it like it matters, because it does. Struggle is the spice that makes your presence linger in places long after you've left. It's what gives your voice resonance, your wisdom weight, your joy a depth that can't be shaken by circumstance. You become the one people seek not because you've always won, but because you've lost and still found purpose. Because you've suffered and instead of shutting down, you allowed that fire to season your faith, your voice, your choices. You want to stand out? Let the depth of your story do the talking. Let the pain you overcame rise from your words like incense. Let your struggle season your steps with strength so rich no one can imitate it. Because imitation comes easy.